How to overcome negative thoughts instantly. Are negative thoughts getting you down? Perhaps you are plagued by a relentless voice of self-doubt. Maybe you're unable to break free of your worries, tension, anxiety, or sadness. Negatively perceive the world or life in general? If it describes you, you undoubtedly already know how distressing the consequences may be. The effects of persistently pessimistic thinking habits on our well-being can be profound and even fatal, lowering our emotional stability, straining our connections with others, and depleting our energy, putting stress on our bodies, our minds, and our ability to function in general. It's not as simple as ignoring negative ideas and replacing them with positive ones in order to overcome pessimism. The problem is that even when we recognize the phenomenon occurring in our lives, we may not know how to counteract it. In this video, I'll show you how to identify typical negative thought patterns, discuss why they're occurring, and outline the evidence-based strategies for overcoming them. Changing our relationship with our thoughts is more than just an issue of suppressing bad ones. Additionally, we may train our brains to function in more positive and constructive ways. So let's get started. What is negative thinking and why is it so painful? Persistent, unproductive thoughts are what we call a negative mind pattern. They are the direct cause of feelings that we would classify as negative. And it can exacerbate problems like stress, depression, worry, fear, a lack of self-esteem, and a lack of confidence. We are aware of some of our negative ideas. To put it another way, we are cognizant of their existence. Aside from that, other ideas are just bad ones that are buried deep in your subconscious. These are the words, phrases, or pictures that continually play in our minds yet don't grab our attention. These ways of thinking can have a significant effect on us even if we aren't consciously aware of them. It's not uncommon for these ideas to originate in one's own set of preconceived notions and previous experiences. The language of pessimism is all too familiar. It's a silent exchange between our minds, yet it can shape the words we use aloud. This can also depend on the circumstances. It can distort our expectations, our perceptions in the moment, and our conclusions about what happened later. But the good news is that we can overcome all the negative ideas and thoughts instantly through these tips. Number 1, practice mindfulness and self-awareness. Meditation is the practice from which mindfulness emerged. Meditation is the discipline of detaching oneself from your own thoughts and feelings in order to observe them as if you were looking in from the outside. Mindfulness training can assist you in becoming more aware of your own thoughts and can help you develop a heightened sense of self-awareness. The purpose of practicing mindfulness is to alter your connection to your thoughts. You might find it helpful to think of your thoughts and feelings as objects floating past you, which you can either stop to examine or allow to continue on their way. Achieving mastery of one's emotional responses to a given set of circumstances can be accomplished through the practice of mindfulness by training one to give the thinking portion of their brain the reins. It has been hypothesized that the spiritual practice of mindfulness may help people become better able to make effective use of their thoughts. One study discovered that those who engaged in a mindfulness practice experienced fewer negative thoughts after being exposed to unpleasant images. This finding suggests that mindfulness may minimize the impact of negative thinking by reducing the number of negative ideas experienced. Number 2, identify your negative thoughts. As you keep a close eye on your thoughts, make an effort to recognize and classify any instances of negativity or cognitive distortion. One example of black and white thinking is seeing oneself in either an absolute positive or negative light regardless of the circumstances. The cognitive error is known as jumping to conclusions, involves forming unfounded, pessimistic forecasts about the future or assuming the intentions of others without sufficient evidence. Catastrophizing is a form of pessimism in which one constantly anticipates the worst conceivable conclusion without giving due consideration to other, more plausible and reasonable outcomes. The tendency to extrapolate the results of a single event to all possible outcomes is a hallmark of the overgeneralization pattern. Because of this, unpleasant events may start to seem inevitable, heightening anxiety levels. Negative self-labeling can have repercussions for a person's self-perception in a variety of settings. For instance, if you tell yourself you're poor at arithmetic, you could avoid situations that require you to use your mathematical abilities. Statements beginning with should are indicative of a pessimistic frame of mind since they focus solely on what one ought to be doing. Such claims are unachievable, and as a result, they leave listeners feeling down on their luck and hopeless about ever achieving their goals. Using one's feelings as evidence for a conclusion is an example of emotional reasoning. If you're feeling anxious, for instance, it's natural to draw the conclusion that your safety is threatened. And that can make people feel even worse and heighten their anxiousness. This way of thinking entails attributing blame or significance to external factors when the responsibility lies elsewhere. It's a common cause of self-blame when circumstances are beyond one's hands. Subtle distinctions exist among harmful ways of thinking. However, they all include unrealistic assumptions and illogical thinking. According to Goldman, the first stage is to recognize and name destructive ideas. Having been aware of the thought, you may recognize it for what it is, unhelpful thinking. Simply take note of it and name it. I think she's onto something. Number 3, replace negative thoughts. Cognitive restructuring is an integral aspect of every CBT treatment strategy. Using this method, you can recognize unhelpful mental patterns and replace them with ones that are more constructive. Adopting this new way of thinking can be challenging at first, but with time and effort, it will become second nature and provide more positive and reasonable conclusions. Steps in a cognitive restructuring that can aid in thought modification include: determine if the idea can actually come to fruition. Examine what has occurred in the past with comparable circumstances to see if your current assumptions hold water. Think critically and try to find other explanations for the phenomenon. Contemplate the benefits and drawbacks of continuing to hold this belief. Learn to identify when a cognitive distortion, like catastrophizing, is at play in your thinking. Think about what you would say to a buddy who had the same idea. Number 4, practice coping with criticism. The assertive defense of the self is another component of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, that may be useful for those with social anxiety. It's crucial to be able to handle rejection and criticism since it's probable that some individuals will truly be critical and judgmental toward you from time to time. To improve your assertiveness and assertive replies to criticism, therapists often have their patients engage in fictitious conversations with them. Homework helps students apply their newfound knowledge in the actual world. Having a repertoire of confident retorts, for instance, might assist alleviate stress in the face of real-world criticism. In addition, this approach recognizes that contacts with real people might provide opportunities to put this technique into practice. The purpose of working on your resiliency in the face of criticism and rejection is to raise your tolerance for the anguish they may cause, which could help you fight off negative ideas that come to you automatically. Number 5, use a thought diary. Thought diaries, which are sometimes referred to as thought journals, can be utilized as a component of any approach designed to transform unhelpful ways of thinking. Thought journals are useful tools for recognizing negative patterns of thinking and gaining a deeper comprehension of how your ideas, and not the circumstances you find yourself in, are the driving force behind your emotional responses. A note in a thought diary might, for instance, break down the thought process that a person goes through while on a date, as well as the emotional and physical responses that come from bad thinking patterns. At the end of the thought analysis, you will be able to replace unhelpful and negative ways of thinking about rejection with methods of thinking that are more constructive and positive. Number 6, keep positive company. It could be that the people you hang out with are to blame for the negative emotions you're experiencing. If you can, try to stay away from folks who are always down on life, and if you can't, be conscious of the ways in which their attitude could be influencing you. You must try out these tactics to overcome negative thoughts instantly. That's it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then press the like button, and if you want more videos on our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button.